Hello, everybody. Welcome to the relationship party. I have some fabulous guests with me. Y'all know this is at the relationship party. It is what it is.
Not what it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. So, before we get into this topic, so y'all get your friends. If you know somebody who's going through a divorce, been through a divorce, you need to tag them now and make sure you like, sharing, and subscribing. Okay. But before we get into this, we would be remiss if we did not chime in on a Cat Williams really quick. Stephanie, I'm gonna start with you.
Okay,
How did you feel about this whole Cat Williams? They broke the internet.
they did.
They broke the internet with this one. How did you feel about the interview?
Well, I mean, as the interviewer, I forget what his name.
Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp. I mean, he just had to kind of let him go because he was going to go
Right,
anyway,
right,
right?
right.
And you just want people to be able to come in and share their truth, and that was his truth, from him. So, and I think that's what we do here. We want to talk, give our truth, and be able to have conversations with people if they want to have conversations. So, I mean, I think it's going to help others be able to come and
And
share
tell
their
their truth.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Kanisha? How did you feel about it?
It was very interesting to watch, mostly because a lot of the people that were mentioned in the interview, we all know, love, and respect, right? So a lot of times what we have to come to grasp with is that, everybody experience with someone is their true authentic experience. And it does not necessarily mean that that person is a bad person.
Right.
It might just be they met that person on a journey of a season and maybe they just did not cross path on a great,
Right,
road, if that
right.
makes sense. So it was very interesting to watch because he exposed a lot of people, dirty laundry, I guess, is for figure of speech. But um I can only say it was a respected interview.
But
What
you know what? Did he really expose them for who they are now? He exposed, like I said, something that happened years ago to
right,
Right.
me. Because I still love and respect those
right.
people. You
Everybody
know what I
else.
To
mean?
me, it wasn't a lot. When he talked about the industry, we know
Mhm.
Mhm.
not details, and we still don't know details. We know the music industry and those industries are not favorable a
Right.
lot.
Yeah,
That people find themselves doing stuff to be in certain positions. Not all.
that's true.
So it wasn't like really tell all. I felt like he was a little angry.
Mm.
Like he said, he wasn't jealous.
Yeah.
I don't think he's jealous, but I think he was a little angry. And when I listened to something that Kevin Hart said, they said the same thing.
Hmm.
So Cat Williams said they just took Kevin Hart and put him in my roles. Those
Hmm.
sat on my table.
Mm.
Mm.
Kevin Hart also in another interview said it was you that didn't show up. It
Mhm.
was you that did. Take responsibility for what you didn't do. So
Mm.
to me, those two coincided.
Yeah.
Cat, they may have had Cat slated
Mm.
to do all of this stuff that Kevin Hart was going to do
Hmm.
Mhm.
because he didn't want to do these different things, which highly respect. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Don't do what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
They just put Kevin Hart in that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he talked about these 10 and 20 films and stuff like that. You're right. When they build stars,
Hmm.
Mhm.
they know they need to build a star so they can build their money. That when you show up and you're on the screen,
Yeah.
you're gonna make us millions and millions of dollars. And of course, we're gonna pay you. So I think it was just a timing thing. Kevin Hart was at the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
That was meant for Cat. Cat didn't take it, but big ups to Kevin Hart for what, even with the opportunity, what he has done.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He's been putting other people on. He
Hmm.
started his own production company, right? So even though they might have called themselves only giving him this,
Yeah.
he's really been taking it far.
Hmm.
And big ups to uh, Kevin Hart for that. And lastly, I want to ask y'all this because the other thing about the black men being in the dress,
Mm.
Yeah.
how do y'all feel about that? Do y'all think that is a thing? Because white men comedians have been in dresses too.
And I was
Definitely.
just thinking that. I was really just thinking that. I think a lot of times maybe it's just our community where we feel like we are to answer to what others in our community do. There is no other community that does that from my experience. Whereas if you see someone that's being black, you're like, oh, well, let me go ahead and just correct this brother or this sister because you making us look bad. And but when you go to other communities, they don't have that. They don't have that. They just be like, oh, that was just a lone gunman and it went out and then went crazy. They don't take account and say, well, I'm sorry because that person went and shot up that school, or I'm sorry because that person did these things. We as a community have to stop trying to take accountability and just really judging each other
Mhm.
for the decisions that each other make because
I feel as a comedian, you can't tell everybody what they do.
right,
So for some, may feel comfortable because they are very masculine. They just see it to be funny.
right,
Because of course, men look ugly
in a
dressed
dress.
up as women.
Exactly.
So if you're a comedian, you may see the humor in that.
Yeah.
Cat was not, and I'm not saying Cat should have done it because some men are so masculine, like you not getting ready to get Denzel in no dress.
Right.
Not gonna happen. But he's also not a comedian and he ain't gonna find it funny.
Right.
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 So you have some people, so it's okay.
Mhm.
But I get what he's saying. Some of them do that for a reason, but that doesn't necessarily have to be your reason. What would you say to the men dressing up as women in the movies?
Well, following where I grew up from is a total strange thing.
Okay. And tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from West Africa, Nigeria, precisely.
Okay.
And when we're talking about Nigeria, it's more than what I can call a country
Right.
because we have like a lot of ethnic groups, like 550. We all speak different languages. Yeah, think about it. We all speak English.
Right.
We have a broken English. We call it pidgin English. It's regular English, but a word can mean something else. So I can speak pidgin English next to you. You're never gonna have an idea of what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, for instance, if I say how far that is like a question about distance.
Right.
I'm asking about you. How are you?
Oh, okay.
You're getting my point. So moving back to the subject matter, like saying men dressing women, I didn't see anything like that until I was like 25.
What
I
did
d-
you think when you first saw it?
you know, if somebody just dressed like a woman without acting like a woman, probably it's something else.
Right.
Like you have a meaning to it. And if the person is acting like a woman, then you have questions like, is the person a man or a woman? For instance, when I just got here, the level of it here in the United States is different from how it is in Africa.
Okay.
Because
Right.
I've seen men here and women here that I got confused. I'm in my
Okay.
30s. I've seen people that I don't know if they're man and woman.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You getting my
Yeah,
point?
yes. Yes.
I just have to like shut that side of my head like, hey, keep quiet. You getting my point?
Right. You just
You
look.
you know,
Right.
but back home, I will have a couple of questions and be like, what's it doing that for?
Right.
Is it seeking attention? Is that what it is?
Right.
You know, then there's this gender that I heard about when I was in school, hermaphrodite or something.
Yeah.
So I may think they're hermaphrodite. Maybe they get confused personally. They don't know if they're a man or a woman, but you're getting my point.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I don't
Yes. Yes.
I don't want to talk about it that much.
Right,
You getting my
I get you.
point?
But so, and you're right, because that's a difference. Because I'm gonna tell you, I seen a pastor, and then we're gonna get to the show. We're gonna go for a commercial break in a quick second. But a pastor was saying about Tyler Perry and Medea.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just want to say this. To me, there's a difference between dressing up comedic in a comedy way. You're not actually trying to be a woman.
Right.
You're impersonating one too for a funny.
Mm-hmm.
But you're so ugly. You're not trying to
Yeah.
trick anybody.
Right.
It's for a laugh versus, a man who is really trying to look as if and portray himself as a woman.
Yeah.
That's really different. And I think there's a break in that. But y'all tell us what y'all think. The Cat Williams, Tyler Perry, are y'all mad that they dressing up? Do you just find it as comedy? And tell us what y'all think. But while y'all thinking about it and typing in the chat, we're gonna go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about divorce and how to get through it. We'll be right back in just a moment.
These fees are killing me. I really need to find a broker who does not charge fees.
Connections Realty Group.
You know, I just really want a brokerage that has great culture and that knows how to have fun.
Connections
See
Realty
you
Group.
tomorrow. You know, what I'm really looking for is a broker who has a great commission split.
Connections Realty Group.
I just really need a brokerage that offers leads so I can jumpstart my business.
Connections Realty Group. Connections Realty Group.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Relationship Party. I have a fabulous cast with me. Tell everybody who you are.
I'm Kanisha Bullock.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. And you, sir?
Ashkor Obatuyai.
I love it. And tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from Nigeria.
Okay. Okay. And we have the beautiful author herself, Stephanie Rochelle.
Yes.
Tell everybody the name of your book, Rochelle.
The name of my book is called A Cracked Egg, because we're all cracked eggs until we rebuild our life from the inside out.
I love it. I love it. And while we have everybody here, because we want to talk about divorce. It's been at an all-time high for so long, and now we're getting to a point that people are not even getting married as much as some of us would like, right?
Mhm.
So wanted to kind of touch on, I know all three of you have been through a divorce. So I want to start at kind of the beginning of that.
Mhm.
And I'll start with you, Stephanie, first. How did you know, or when did you realize that we're probably heading that direction?
Well, it was point blank plain that I knew that I was going to have to go through a divorce, but I had to get myself ready for a divorce. The reason why I say that I knew I had to get divorced is because basically my husband had moved out and I didn't even know. He made it appear like he was still there. He was
Oh,
working a night job, but he had left. So he had basically walked out. So at that point that I'm there, contemplating what I had found out, what was going on, what was really happening now, and I knew nothing about it. Like I really believed he was working a night job, this, that, and the other.
wow.
Now it's like, how do I do this? Like,
Right.
because what I thought my life was going to be is no longer going to be. Wasn't that I didn't have a good job, wasn't that I couldn't take care of myself. It's just what I envisioned now was going to be different. So I had to just wrap my mind around that first. So I didn't make rash decisions, even though I
Right.
knew like this wasn't gonna work for me. I wasn't gonna try to make somebody be here that didn't want to be here and all those things.
Right.
I was gonna go through a divorce, but I gave myself the time to get myself together so that I wouldn't be mentally back and forth trying to make decisions. I would
Right.
know when I go down and get the divorce attorney that
It would
this
be
is what we're
this.
doing.
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you this, because a lot of people, and I love your story because a lot of people, there were signs, and
Mhm.
not about anything in particular, that things are not working,
Mhm.
right? A lot of times I hear men say, it was just out of nowhere. No, it wasn't.
Mhm.
So sometimes there's some things, not about the particular thing that breaks the camel's back,
Right.
but
Correct.
sometimes people will stay and be unhappy for a certain period of time, knowing that it's not really working.
Mhm.
So did you have that? Was there a period of time that you just knew that it really wasn't working?
Yeah, well, it's that in every marriage if you've
Right.
been married any length of time.
Right.
And so we have literally been together since the 10th grade. So we were high school
Wow.
sweethearts, got
Right.
married and got divorced when we were like year 28.
Okay.
So yeah, so you don't love somebody like you love
Right.
them all the time and all
Right.
of those years. You still care for them, you want the best for them. You know what I mean? You just move through it. Anybody that's been married knows that there's some move through it type
Right.
of years.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there were those things. But we had been through
So
so
much.
many life trials, right? And had gotten through that. The little things really didn't seem to matter because we had been through so many major things
Right.
in our marriage.
So it wasn't something you felt that was just different this time. And the
Right.
reason why I'm asking, because some people think they're at that point, and sometimes they're just not really not. Sometimes maybe you need to pause for a second. Like you
Right.
said, you've been through so many trials before.
Mhm.
Doesn't necessarily mean that this is the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to stick it out a little bit further.
Right.
Okay. So
Well, in this case, there was no sticking it out further. There was me just digesting the person who I thought they were was not that person.
Okay.
Like things that happen. Okay, so of course there was cheating and all those things. I would never think that he would do anything like that, right? I just
Didn't.
just
Right.
didn't. We could have problems, right? I just never thought that that would be our thing.
Okay.
And then I'm a person that is a big thing for me, especially deceit is big for me.
Right.
If I think you're this and you're that, who are you?
Right.
So that was the one thing that I had to in moving forward and rebuilding my life. It's like, okay, now when I'm meeting people, who are you really?
Right.
Because who
And
I
people
thought
change. Yeah.
was because who I
And
thought was this
yeah.
person ain't this person.
Right.
And he's not a bad person. We
Right.
friends
Right.
now to
Right.
this day and
Right.
everything. But I'm just like,
Yeah. And I
who are
tell
you
people
for
all the
real?
time, you don't know who people are until you're breaking up.
Yeah. And so this is somebody that I knew from
Right.
childhood. So I'm thinking I'm knowing this person. So now when I meet people on the street and I'm out here dating, I'm like, but who are you really?
Right.
Like, what has happened to you? Like, what you been through? What you going through?
Right.
So I'm looking at people differently. And that's why
Mm.
I just, yeah.
Right. Okay. I love it. I love it. What about you? You've been through a divorce.
Yes.
Could you see it coming?
Actually, personally, the way I grew up, I didn't come up from a family that I saw any of my parents breaking up,
Okay.
but they both were married before I was born. So I didn't see that part of their life.
Okay.
And I never thought I would see something like this. As a person, I don't like being away from whoever is going to be my spouse for long. I've been lonely enough in my life. I got married in my 30s. So I don't want to go through like I have a wife with the mindset of being somewhere, then I'm somewhere else for a long time. I
Right.
know who I am. I like my home time. I
Mhm.
like it doesn't matter what my wife is doing. I just like knowing, oh, my wife's right there. I want to
Right.
mess with her. You getting my point?
Right. Yes.
So the lady I got married to, she somehow we've been together since like 10 years before we married. But trust me, it doesn't matter how many numbers of, like the number of years you know yourselves for before you get married. You've not been to marriage together. There
Right.
are things you will never see until you are in the same house. The first couple of weeks in marriage, you're gonna start seeing different
Things.
things. You can probably get tired of the marriage from the first week, set of weeks. You just have to be a man so you can help yourself and your spouse to get through the first stage.
Mhm.
Trust me, in the beginning when you caught it, like she's somewhere living with a parent, you're gonna have the urge of seeing yourselves
Mhm.
often. It's not like that when you get in
Yeah.
marriage. You get
Married.
my
Yeah.
point. So I went to school in Egypt. My college days were in Egypt. She was in Nigeria. We were not married then. I was just able to bear what it takes because I wasn't married. But from the time I got married, I say that I will still be traveling. The situation in Africa is different from the United States, especially Nigeria. The economy is coming down drastically. You getting my point? So
Oh.
for a young man of this age, I need to go where the money is.
Yes.
This is the first set of my life. You getting my point?
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm supposed to provide for my family. I need to stay where I can have a lot of opportunities. So you getting my point?
Yes.
I shouldn't get a job when I'm in my 40s. How many years I'm gonna be working for? You getting my point?
Right.
But she on the other level, the other side, she's attached to her parents too much. She doesn't want to go far away from them. Here's the thing: they've lived their lives, right?
Let's go live out.
You're about to set up your life.
Mhm.
I'm not taking you 100% away from your family. You
Mhm.
can still have time to go to them. But she's a father person, and I cannot deal with that. I
Right.
saw it coming, but I thought I was gonna be able to okay, have a conversation a couple of times with her, and she's gonna understand what we're doing together. You getting my point?
Right.
But every effort I put in place is not giving me the result I want. So when I came here, I was supposed to be able to travel after like a month back home or 2 months, but I wasn't able to. Then the family, based on how things happen in Africa, in the family I came from, the head of the family is gonna write a letter and send it to the head of my family.
Mhm.
Whatever that's gonna happen, like it's gonna be marriage or it's gonna be divorce. So they sent a letter. I got the information. I was like, yeah, I can't travel right now. Then I had a couple of conversations with her. Can you be patient? a little bit more. Give me time. I'm doing this for our future. I am doing this for the unborn kids. I just have to do it. My dad stopped where he could. And that's why I went through what I went through. Again, I don't want my kids to go through the same kind of things I go through to bring them to life. You get my point? This is the only chance we have, right? But I guess she's not seeing it.
Right.
And in my culture, my dad used to tell us, don't be the one to send your wife away. There's gonna be divorce. Try as much as possible not to be the one, the first one to suggest.
Right.
Sometimes it has to be divorced. There's nothing you're gonna do about it. Don't get me wrong, but
That's right.
we are trained to always try everything we could to make it work. I mean, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
Work.
That's nature. You're getting my point.
Right.
So they sent the letter from the family and told my family, okay, she's gonna move on. She couldn't deal with this no more. You're getting my point. So
So let me ask you a quick question. We all on another subject, but hold on.
Mhm.
So when y'all get a divorce, you said they wrote your family. Do y'all not have to do a legal document to, like here, we have to go to an attorney, have to go to
yeah,
court to
I
get.
understand what you're talking about. I'm a Muslim.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm coming from Africa, coming from Nigeria, then coming from the Yoruba part of Nigeria, then my family. That's a lot of things I have to consider. When we getting married, we didn't go to court.
Okay.
So going to court for separation or for divorce is gonna be like, okay, we don't have no record of you being married.
Right. Right. Okay. So
You
y'all don't
get my
have it
point?
that way.
So
Okay.
it the way it happened, the scholars, the religious scholars in the community, they're gonna see it. The two families gonna see it, the friends, the witnesses, and all that. They're gonna see it. Then they pronounce the marriage. That's how it works. They can give you a document, anything to say this guy and this guy, this lady, this man, they got married on this day. But not every time when you get divorced, they provide you something like that.
Oh, okay. Hey, you learn something new every day. So, 'cause, over here, we had to get all the paperwork, custody of some children, all of that. So, Kanisha, tell everybody a little bit about, did you see, or how far was it before you see that, you know what, divorce is just really knocking at the door?
I think with my situation, it's not that my ex was bad. He just wasn't a good person to me, right? And a lot of things that we went through are like behind closed doors. So when we would go through issues, I'm one of those people who like to self-evaluate. So I had to check myself and say, "Am I tripping? Like, is it me?" So I started going to counseling and I would see different counselors because I wanted to see what different counselors saw in me. And I went to see a black lady, I went to see a white Christian counselor, and I went to see a black gentleman. So I had 3 different counselors that I went to see, and all of them were looking at me and like, "You need to get a divorce." So I was like, "No, no, I love my husband," because at the time we was married for almost 10 years. And I was
Right.
thinking to myself, we done been through so much, I wanted to stay married. So then it got to the point where I'm like, I'm listening to these people who I've hired to give me advice and tell me to stay in this relationship. Or to hiring to get me to stay into this relationship, and they're telling me to leave. So it got to the point to where we went to counseling together. And when we went to counseling together, they were like, "Y'all need to get a divorce." And I'm just
Wow.
like, here are strangers who know nothing about me, who know nothing about him, but they sat and heard his side, they heard my side, and they like, "Y'all need to get a divorce." And I knew I needed to get myself together. And I try to seek counsel from a lot of different people just to see, especially women who went through what I went through. Because when you get a divorce, it's like you're mourning a death.
Mhm.
I like that. Hold, stop right there for a second. Say that again.
It's like something has died, like someone has died. And it's a lot of people don't get that. Like you really have to go through that mourning period, that mourning phase of, oh my God, like the 7 stages of grief, like anger, frustration, hatred, whatever, like crying and just like, the drama. Like you really go through the same stages of grief of a death like you would through a divorce. And what I found myself doing was I was going through my divorce even though I was still married because I knew the answer. I had several people who told me the answer,
Mhm.
but I wasn't ready to accept that answer because I felt like eventually, this person will come around and they would see the error of their ways, especially if you have men who are of the same age group as him, who are of the same established lifestyle as him, who's talking to him and telling him, these are things that you need to fix within yourself so that you're not hurting your relationship, your, marriage or whatever. And they wasn't changing, like nothing was changing. So I knew 3 years prior that I needed to get a divorce, but I knew that I was nowhere in a space to financially be able to afford a divorce as well as take care of my
Well,
family.
let me just say this. It is very crucial that you say that because some people will say, "Why did you stay?"
Mhm.
Mm,
It's not so easy to leave all the time,
Mhm.
it's not.
depending on your family dynamic.
No, it's
Yeah.
very hard to
But
leave.
yeah, and
Very hard.
especially if you
Easier
have
to say.
children
Yes.
or you're not in a financial situation. And I got to tell you, that is the worst place to be in to want to leave and can't.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
That is horrible.
'Cause it's like you're suffering, like it's like you're being smothered and it's like you're going through hell.
Mhm.
For lack of a better term, hell. But, when I was growing up, I grew up in a big family, and my dad used to, tell my brothers, he was like, "There's only 2 reasons why a woman would get married. It's financial support or family dynamic. And as a man, it's up for you to decide which one of those areas your wife fall in." I was always that wife that wanted to get married for family dynamic. I didn't need a man to, like, financially take care of me because I knew how to work, da, da, da. But I wanted to be married because of what marriage meant.
Mhm.
So for me, staying in my marriage was like me fighting for my marriage. I didn't want to get a divorce. I never in a million years would have thought I'm gonna marry this person who at the time I believed was the love of my life,
Mhm.
who I wanted to have babies with, who wanted to build, a lifestyle with. And then now here we are, and all of that is being ripped apart because
Right.
it's like you're fighting, but it takes two people to fight.
Mhm.
Just like it
And
takes two
sometimes
people
you
to
don't
get
even know
married.
how to fight.